Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on mysterious and weird, true stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 736, written by Skeekeedee, the credit card with an impossible perk. I have a purse with a regular wallet, but I also have a small coin purse that I can put in my pocket. I carry just the coin purse when I drive for DoorDash with a chapstick, driver's license, debit card, and the Dasher credit card. I started doing this because I had the bad habit of putting them in my pockets and misplacing them. One day last month, I misplaced the credit card. I wasn't sure how, but it was missing for a few days. I didn't worry too much about it until I was packing to go out of town. I needed the card, so I searched high and low and found it. I tucked it in front of the zipper pouch of my purse so I knew I would have it. I was so happy to have located it. I told my roommate. I remember this clearly. The next day, I'm out of town and go to do a delivery shift and grab the card to put it in the coin purse, but it's not there. I turn the purse inside and out, then the wallet, then the coin purse. I was so frustrated and confused that I searched my car, my laptop bag, suitcase, and even toiletries bag. I asked my roommate for help to search for it, and he didn't find it either. After several days, I gave up and ordered a new one. I got it yesterday, activated it, and tucked it in the coin purse. All that's been in there for the last month is my driver's license, debit card, chapstick, and a dollar bill. I went to pull out the new card tonight to use it, and what else do I find in the coin purse? The original card that's been missing for a month. Case notes for file 736. The credit card with an impossible perk. Cool, so another DOP phenomena. It's right in my wheelhouse. It's the only thing the universe is ever going to throw my way in terms of glitches or paranormal events. Nothing cool, no ghosts, no aliens, just tennis balls vanishing. That's it. And they never even came back for me. At least you got your credit card back. I have to say though, as far as credit card perks go, the ability to return from the ethereal void is pretty high up there. Nice. Case file number 737, written by Mostly Nothing, the painting that saved our lives. This all happened about 10 years ago. I was in my early 20s. I lived in an old city in Eastern Europe. House was large and old, close to downtown, and partitioned into 5 to 6 apartments. I lived in the smallest. It was 1 bedroom, kitchen and bathroom, and was almost below ground level. Not sure what you call that in English. Anyway, there was a large gas oven/stove in the kitchen that we used for both cooking and heating. One night, my then girlfriend and I lay in bed, half asleep, when a small painting that was hung on the wall above me shifted. Mind you, I've been living there for the past 10 years. Nothing ever moved. No breeze, as I only had a door and a window and they were both on the same side. I freaked out. Jumped out of bed and turned the lights on. I couldn't understand how that painting suddenly moved. Went to the kitchen to look around. I noticed the gas was turned on in the oven/stove, but there was no flame. It was basically leaking gas. I switched it off and quickly realized that had the painting not moved on the wall, I was probably going to die that night. Nothing like that has ever happened before or since. Case notes for file 737. The painting that saved our lives. You know, it's weird. While reading this story, what I kept thinking about was 1984 and the painting in Winston's playroom, where he fools around with the girl that he's not supposed to, in the upstairs of the shop area. And there's a painting of a golden valley or something like that on the wall. Of course, the state is spying on him through the painting, and it's quite creepy. It doesn't really make sense because it's a guardian angel event. Something tried to save you, and did. So it's not spying exactly, but definitely something is around. Maybe some loved one that you recently lost, or it doesn't even have to be recent. Maybe it takes a long time for some echoes to learn how to use their powers, their ability to manipulate the EM spectrum in order to move things around. I guess it can't be simple, can it? Maybe it's a natural gift for some. I wonder if I'll be any good at that. Case file number 738, written by Try and Try Again, 123, That's not my Connie. When I was 16, I took an SAT prep class to improve my score and get into a good college. The class was pretty boring, but I met the most interesting girl in the class. She was thin, fairly short, with light brown hair and green eyes. She always wore a green headband, which I thought was cute. Her name was Connie. We hit it off immediately and spent most of the class whispering to each other, side by side at our desks. I spent about 3 weeks sitting next to her talking during the class. When the class was over, we exchanged instant messenger handles so we could keep in touch. This was the early 2000s. About a year passed and we continued talking online. We got to know each other pretty well, but we lived on completely different sides of the city, and it was quite a drive to visit each other. So, being the young teens we were, we never actually got together. Eventually, I worked up the courage to ask her out for dinner. I set our date at a restaurant located between the both of us so we wouldn't have to drive too far. The time for our date rolled around and I headed to the restaurant to meet her. I walked in and saw her sitting in a booth with 2 older individuals at the far side of the establishment. She looked exactly like she did in the class. Thin, light brown hair, green eyes, and she was wearing her signature green headband. I approached her and said hello. I gave her a hug and sat down next to her in the booth. I assumed these 2 older individuals across from us were her parents. Odd, I thought, but maybe they were there to chaperone. I could tell immediately something was wrong, though. The 2 older individuals looked very confused, surprised, almost bewildered. The look on Connie's face was also one of perplexity. Eventually, she said, "Who are you?" I was shocked by this. I said, I'm Jason. Remember, we set up a date for tonight? I assume these are your parents. It's very nice to meet you." And I reached out my hand to shake her parents' hands. They didn't return my handshake. Instead, they simply looked at their daughter and said, "Oh, did you forget to tell us this, Sarah?" "Sarah? You told me your name was Connie." She looked absolutely puzzled and said, "Sorry, you must have me confused with someone else." My mistake?" Then I scratched my head and headed out of the restaurant to my car. I was embarrassed. Maybe she just didn't want to go out with me, I thought. She could have at least said no instead of leading me on the charade. Defeated and humiliated, I decided to just head home. When I opened the door to my car, I heard a voice behind me say, "Hey, Jason!" I turned around. It was a tall, light blonde-haired woman with a large round face and blue eyes. Do I know you?" "It's me, Connie. We had a date planned, remember? Where are you going?" We went inside and had dinner. She was definitely Connie. She remembered all of our previous conversations over the past year, but she looked nothing like the girl I met in class. When I asked her why she stopped wearing her green headband, she had no recollection of ever wearing or even owning this type of headband. I can't explain it. Case notes for file 738. That's not my Connie. Now, I'm thinking about another story I recently read where a woman was in a neighborhood and she was pregnant and then went to the hospital and came back and she was an entirely different woman. Some of the neighbors remembered some differences, but no one really appreciated that it was an entirely different person. Now, in this case, it clearly is a different person. You met her in class, you knew exactly what she looked like, you approached her and it wasn't her, it was Sarah. What I'm thinking is, maybe it was Connie, but she wanted you to date her friend and didn't want to break your heart. So she got her friend to pose as Connie. Now this is very convoluted, and obviously if this is the case, it wouldn't work long term. I remember as a teenager I would crack up crazy plots to go places to get out of going to school. It made no sense and obviously wasn't going to work, but I still tried it. In the realm of mundane explanations, that's possible. The other thing that could be possible is some sort of memory alteration. Our memories are all bundles of connections, which is why if you think about something often enough, it reinforces those connections, which makes it easier to recall them. The thing is, if you jumble those connections improperly, then you can be convinced of a memory that isn't true. In fact, this is why eyewitness testimony is very low on the evidence chain in court, because we can convince ourselves that a memory is so certainly true, but it isn't. And you mentioned that it was over a year since you actually saw her again. Now, I don't know if she sent pictures. If she did, if there's any pictures you could find, that would be something. Of course, this happened back in 2000, so it wasn't as common to send pictures back then. Hell, did we even send pictures over Instant Messenger? Maybe we didn't. Starting to feel old.